teaching you environments for animation. Welcome to this online course. This evening, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the syllabus, the first project, a general kind of flow of how these projects are going to work, what the semester is going to look like for you, and kind of walk you and guide you through the D2L, the syllabus, as well as the discussion post and give you a good outline. Towards the end, I'm also going to talk about the discussion post, the first one and the second one probably, and then give you an overview, a sort of crash course within Photoshop for some best practices for how to be able to set up your projects to make them good and successful and make sure that you're working correctly and you have a nice workspace to do your thing and get these projects rolling. So in the beginning here, environments for animation. I've taught this class quite a few times in person. This will be my first time doing it in an online modality. Because of that, I've sort of streamlined the course. I've taken away the speed painting projects that I have the in-person students do. I've also removed a project for you guys for this semester. So we have 5 projects that we're going to be working on. And there's a trade-off because we're sort of making things a little bit more lax and taking it a little bit slower pace because I do understand that oftentimes real world activities, real world classes take precedent over these online courses. I wanted to give you guys some more time, but there are going to be weekly check-ins and essentially everything that you need to do, you need to make sure that you have it in before Friday at midnight. This is the most important thing for this course. Do not wait until Friday at 11:59 p.m. If you wait that long, I'm not going to be offering any extensions. So my recommendation for the best way to get through this semester is to turn your stuff in Wednesday evening or Thursday in the morning. That will give your other classmates plenty of time for them to be able to respond to your post and for you to respond to theirs. And it'll just keep things flowing nice and easy. And you won't have any problem with that. Okay. So let's go ahead and open up the syllabus and take a little bit of an overview through what this course is going to look like. All right. So when you go into your D2L, what you're going to see here is we've got our 5 projects laid out. To be able to get to the course syllabus, what you're going to do is click on the Content tab. Please don't judge me for all my tabs that are open. And inside of there, you will see the course syllabus. This is going to be a little bit hard to read on your screen if you're watching it in browser. It's located there for you guys to be able to check out. But as you can see, we are inside of Microsoft Teams. This is where we will be doing all of our meetings and I'll be doing all the live demos for this semester within the front of the course. You'll see the announcement section right here. Just below there, the first announcement in the course is this little button. It says, click here, Teams meeting space, class meeting portal, the entire semester. That's what you're going to click on to be able to get into these live demos, to jump in, to ask me any questions and to give feedback, and for us to have some good conversations about environment, design, and art. Right above that, within the announcements, you will see that there is a brush pack to be able to download. More on that a little bit later. They are for Photoshop. There's a quick little 2-minute video for how to be able to install brushes if you have never done so before. But these 2 brush packs that I've included here are a good starter pack for design brushes. Within them, there are something called stamp brushes, right? The stamp brushes will make like little leaf patterns and grass patterns and things like that. Those are a double-edged sword. So yes, used sparingly like salt and pepper to season and taste, they can work really good. But if you overuse them on any meal or any painting that you're developing, the work is going to look really cheap. It's going to look really rushed. It's going to have a bad flavor, a bad taste to it. So please do not use those stamp brushes too much. We'll talk a lot more about where they're appropriate to be used and when you should not. But inside of those brush packs, there's also some really good shaped brushes, like a square chip brush. There's a hexagonal brush. And these things should really come in handy as we get into the urban environments or more of the building scapes later on down this semester. Okay, back to that course syllabus. So under the content section, you'll also see all the projects that are listed out in here. Project 1 is the one that you need to focus on right now. Like I said at the beginning, my name is William Moritz, and you can reach me at wmortz@kennesaw.edu. Please, if you're going to email me in this course, send me a copy of what your work is looking like, how it's coming along. Please do not email me directly from the D2L space. Open up your Outlook, email me from there. That way, when I'm on the go, when I'm on the fly, I will be able to respond to you immediately instead of having to go through the Duo Mobile, all the clicks to be able to get to that little email icon. It's just not a good user flow. They need to really update that at some point. But I just ask that when you are emailing me, if you have a question, if you want some feedback, do it outside of the the D2L. Email me from your internet browser of choice, whether that's Gmail, AOL Mail, Yahoo, Outlook, whatever it happens to be. Just email me directly from there with that email address. Also, I've got my Instagram and my online portfolio listed out on there. My online portfolio, totally down right now. I use WordPress and a shell for that called Divi Builder, and my Divi Builder went down. Paid the money for them to try and fix it. They broke it. So then I had to pay more money to WordPress just earlier today. So they're working on getting my site live and active again, which is is good. But that's how it goes. I do have my Instagram on here as well. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram. Within my own professional life, I oftentimes still give work to other people that I went to school with, your other classmates within this, even though it's an online course. I recommend getting in touch, contacting, sharing out your socials with them, because this is the start of your creative family. And that is an essential part of working within this creative world. Sometimes as well, if my peers can't really take on a job, or I can't take on a job myself, I have given out work to students in the past to uh, to them to be able to start doing some professional jobs. I had one student I gave work to for Home Depot in the past, and he knocked it absolutely out of the park. So please, I love for you to be able to stay in touch with you guys, and I'm happy to help far removed from the school space in the future. If you have any, professional questions later on down the line, I'm happy to help you with that. For myself, I've been teaching for 10 years. I've been doing creative and design work for 20 years. Don't do the math. It's a lot, but it has been a very non-linear path through the creative world for me. That's given me a lot of skills and a very good creative strategy to approach any type of creative problem that I'm trying to solve. A non-linear path also means I have not just gotten a job as an animator in the studio and worked within that one role for 20 something years. I've been an animator, I've been a 3D animator, I've been a concept artist, I've been a background artist, I've been a creative director, I've worked for gaming companies, I've been a strategist, I've done UI UX design, web building, 3D animation, VR, 3D modeling. I've done a lot of different things. And I think that makes me uniquely suited to be able to talk to you guys about what the creative world looks like, what getting a job in the creative space looks like. And how to be able to put forth your best foot as you are trying to break into the creative industry. We'll talk more about that a little bit down the line when we get into the projects, and I'll tell you why you're doing the projects that you're doing. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a background on me. On that Instagram, you'll also see a whole bunch of other in-class examples that I've done with previous students. So the prerequisite for this course is going to be Painting 1, Art 3160. And I can go ahead and tell you that the leaps and bounds that you're about to go through with this Environments for Animation course compared to Painting 1 is night and day. You are about to have a full lunar eclipse, and you're going to get a lot better really fast at what it is that you're doing and the way that you're thinking about the creative problems that you are solving. Mm. Yeah, that brings up another thing. So most of you guys, what I find whenever I'm teaching this Environments for Animation class is that where you are at within your creative journey, previously you've likely done a lot of traditional mediums, painting, pastels, chalks, charcoal, all that good stuff, figure drawing. You've spent your high school careers sketching and doodling and doing fine art, um, but likely you haven't done a lot of full-on Bob Ross environments. Happy trees just aren't very appealing. I think creating the care at that age, creating the characters and figuring out who the characters are, the world building, the power set, all that good stuff, their clothing, their hairstyles, are something that we delve into our imaginations at a younger age. You also spend a lot of time learning how to draw a character's eye perfect, or do hands really well, or figuring out all the musculature and how to render hair. And doing full medieval environments might not be something that you really sit down and on a Sunday or in a class, fourth period or whatever, and say, this is what I'm going to do today. That being said, I have a great passion for environments, for animation and background art. On my weekends, I like to lead plein air painting classes where I take a bunch of amateurs out to a location that they've never been to. A lot of times I've never painted it before myself. And in 2.5 hours, I lead around 15 people to through the full process of how to be able to do plein air painting. I'll share two of those with you real quick. Little show and tell. Here's one that I did just the other weekend. So here, I know it's a little bit blurry, but this is a beach painting. Beach paintings are such a genre painting. I feel like I've never taken a particular class on that, and I'm still discovering it every time. They're getting better. The next one is this cool, here we go, sort of castle scene overlooking a river with a countryside on the back. These are 9 by 12 canvases. And yeah, I did this one in about 2.5 hours. This one in about an hour and a half. So they're quick little paintings. And for me, it's a really good way for me to spend my weekend, get outside and enjoy some nature. So moving on down. So, required materials for this course. What do you need? Well, you're going to need a computer that can run some kind of drawing software. Obviously, you need a tablet with a pen or a screen that you can draw on. And you're going to need a computer mouse that has got a left and right button on here and a little middle mouse. Our traditional Macintosh mice that only have one button and are too smart for their own good are not going to be the most useful thing for you, because that right click button when we get inside of Photoshop is going to allow you to be able to move in that space much, much faster. One of the things that I put a big emphasis on is professional studio level working techniques, so that you guys are using your time to get to the creative instead of fighting the program. And this can mean something as simple as learning a few hotkeys and getting used to them like it's a keyboard, learning how to play a keyboard, so that you're not moving your wrist from one side of the screen all the way to the other. Yeah, from here all the way over here. When you do that 10,000 times throughout your career, your wrist will start to wear out and it'll be absolutely tired as all get out by the end of the day. So those hotkeys and best practices really do come in handy to speed up your workflow. And working fast is essential for this career. No one likes to wait on creative. They like to sit around and plot the ideas, burn through all the contracted time for the deliverables, and then throw you the idea at the 11th hour and you're expected to get it done. So working fast comes with the territory here as a design professional. All right. Other things that you're going to need, we got a Wacom pen. When it comes to it, it says the Adobe Photoshop suite. When I run my demos within this course, I will be doing it inside of Photoshop. If you're not aware, Photoshop has gotten into a lot of trouble over this past year for their subscription model, and there are a lot of professional studios and high-level professionals out there that are stepping away from Photoshop, and I think that this is a great thing. The Goliath has been there for way too long, and frankly, Photoshop, for all the other creative pursuits that use that software, has never really recognized what it is that we use it for. And instead, each one of their updates continues to be photography based, even though they have Lightroom. And it's it's good that there are other competitors out there that are much cheaper priced. That said, if you're going to use a comparable program, please make sure that it has layers in it and that it can export a PSD. When we get to the fourth project within this class, we're going to be doing something called parallax. The easiest way to explain parallax at a high level is if you or any of your friends have got a Roku television. A Roku TV has got this cityscape during its sort of screensaver mode where the camera is panning across and the city is moving. But as the city moves across, it's got lots of layers of the city, and the stuff that's closer to you is moving faster than the stuff that is behind you, and that is a parallax effect. We're going to be building that parallax effect within After Effects. You could also complete this parallax project within Cinema 4D, Blender if you wanted to. It can be done. You can also do it within Toon Boom Harmony, but I'm going to be demoing it within After Effects. So when we get to Project 4, ah, online modality, we're going to work through it and we're going to get you there. But all right. So, learning outcomes and objectives for this course. So, this course is a studio-based with multiple projects that will measure a student's capability to create believable environments for animation and portfolio purposes. Topics to be discussed will be developing perspective skills, visual narrative, object layering, preparing illustrations for animation, creating complex backgrounds for animation, creating animation for television. These are all great things within this course. You will certainly get a good method of learning for that. There's 16 weeks of other learning outcomes and little nuggets of wisdom that I'm going to try to give to you guys within these videos and within these sessions. The course objectives are to gain a greater understanding of rendering in Adobe Photoshop. I think you will certainly come out of this with a strong working method. To build a portfolio of background and environments. Gain the ability to render lighting, form, various materials, and work up to rendering in a professional manner at the speed required for most production houses. We already talked about speed a little bit. The next part, that second bullet point there, where it says build a portfolio of backgrounds and environments. I'm a little bit unique when it comes to how I like to teach my courses. I said that I've been teaching college classes for 10 years. That's a lot of students and a lot of projects. What I do with each one of my projects is and I have been since I became a professor, is doing the projects along with you guys. I would not ask you guys to do anything that I would not want to do myself. There's two reasons for this. When I was in college myself, my professors never showed me with their work. They just handed me the assignments and then they did not ever draw anything. And I was like, well, what's going on here? You're supposed to be an art professor. I want to learn from how you actually do this stuff, you know. And so I'm trying to fix that. Trying to fix that for 10 years now. The other thing is that when I was in college, when I became a junior, my parents were really adamant about me getting an internship. They were like, when are you going to start applying for jobs? When are you going to get an internship? What are you doing? And when they did this to me, I was already stressed out from school. It just put even more pressure on me because at that time, all I had was like a flag wave, a ball bounce, maybe a walk cycle. And I didn't feel like I had enough within my portfolio to start applying for junior roles or internships at any studios. So any class that you take with me while you're at this school is I'm going to try to get you through the series of projects. And by the end of it, it's my hope that you've got a solid portfolio of design work that you can look at and start sending off for an internship or a junior level role. That being said, I'm going to share with you guys my ArtStation real quick. So you can find me just like on Instagram or anywhere else on ArtStation on YouTube. The name is always Skato.org, Skato.org. And yeah, so this is my ArtStation portfolio. And in here, you'll be able to see my previous runs of the Environment for Animation course and what it is that I created for these projects. Now, typically within the live sessions, I ask the students at the end to go through and create a process book. So a process book is showing how you actually did the work. You are not required to do a process book for this course, but I would recommend that you guys go through and check out how I am displaying my work. Again, I've been working for 20 years. I know the ins and outs and the tricks of the trade for how to be able to get a job. Oftentimes, when I see students exit portfolios, they'll have a button there that says illustration or background work, and then you click on it, and it's just a scroll through gallery that explains to you nothing about where these projects come from, why these projects were created, how you actually created these projects, the what and the why. And when you're sending off and these people don't know you from John or Job, it really helps a lot to be able to initiate the conversation by talking about your work with the way that you're displaying your projects and the first time that they're seeing these things. So suddenly a piece of background art doesn't just become a piece of background art. It is early development for an animation pitch that was going to go to Cartoon Network. Even if it didn't go to Cartoon Network, at least it sounds you can throw that name in there. So yeah, this is for Project One, Welcome to the Jungle. And then there's the final piece for it. Here's the medieval times piece. And you can see that I'm showing the line art, the development of the flat color to the final renderings, showing off the final renderings on another page. And then I've got my, this is the project that got dropped. It's normally an industrial revolution project, kind of a steampunk project with a weather element to it, but we're just not going to have time to go through and do that. And you can see how nicely these pages are laid out. I'm talking about what each one of the projects is, the what and why of it. And this is a lot of work for you to be able to show off within a portfolio to reach out and to be able to try and get that entry level job. It's a really smart way to be able to show your stuff and comes across as being very professional. All right, here's one more. I'll do a quick scroll through it. Yeah, so here's another example of the Welcome to the Jungle project, the medieval times. We'll get into these more in a second. Steampunk. And finally, space shell. Okay, back to the class. So next up, the course competencies is what you're going to be looking at. Upon completion of this course, the student should be able to bring a concept from thumbnails to a fully finished rendering for the purposes of background art and animation. Your first challenge here within this course is to figure out what good thumbnailing and good rough sketches are. If we're doing thumbnailing or rough sketches for animation, we're doing gestural drawings, we're doing very loose drawings. When we're doing thumbnails and rough drawings for environments for animation, there's a lot more planning that goes into it. If you're not solving for these things early on in the concept, I like to call it failing fast, then you're going to give yourself a lot of problems later on down the line. This certainly goes with your building structures and the objects within the space. And there's a lot of details that we're going to be working with that at this rough sketch stage, you really need to go through and plan out thoroughly. We'll see more of that as we look at discussion post number 1 later on within this video. All right. So I think this section has got something about the attendance policy. As you can see, I'm recording this session, and I'm going to continue to record all the live sessions and the demo sessions throughout the semester. I'm going to try and have these demos up to you guys within 48 hours at the very latest, whenever we run one of these sessions. You can join, you can watch them later. That's totally up to you. This is an online modality, so please, you're going to get a lot of great information out of these videos. I never want to waste you guys' time, and I'm just trying to give you guys the information that you need to be able to be successful and to work through these projects and solve them in the best way. And that's really what I'm going to be doing within the videos, is pulling back the curtain and saying, okay, if you want to get an A, watch this. Here's the things to think about. Here's the why for why it is we're actually doing this design thinking and creatively solving for these projects in the way that we are. So let's talk about the projects within this course. This class has a theme. The overarching theme is it's a journey through time in the environments for animation course. Your first project, we are starting all the way in the beginning, the primal jungle. And inside of this primal jungle are some jungle ruins. Think like Indiana Jones type stuff. And your jungle ruins does not just have to be a giant temple. It could be an old bridge. It could be some Roman columns that fell over. But I do ask that you guys make sure that your jungle is tropical. I do not want to see a forest. I don't want to see, a bamboo forest or anything like that. This needs to be a tropical jungle scene. There's a big purpose for that. As we start to look into project one, I'll explain more about why it needs to be a tropical jungle. The next project, we're going to move forward in time out of the jungle into what I like to call medieval times. This is going to be a two-shot project where your character is walking through a medieval town or a medieval place, and they're going to go into a building. You're going to be able to see the exterior of the building within this shot, this town, etc. And then the second shot is them from in the camera moves from inside the building. The character is entering, and if you're animating it, what would they be doing on the inside of there? I'll show you guys two examples of that real quick. You won't be able to hear the sound in these, but it'll give you an idea. So this is a really successful student project that someone did in the past. And that brings up a great point here. If you guys want, you are more than welcome to use these background environments for later animation projects. If you've got a fully rendered, beautiful background, think about how you can bring these to life with character animations. And these oftentimes, especially the medieval one, any of them really, are great for showing off environment and effects animations as well. If you know how to do a flag waving, you can add some flags waving or some clothing, in this case, waving within your scene. I'm going to play this video twice. There we go. So some quick little background characters in there just to be able to populate the world. Character walking through, nice little shadow, enters the building, and then as we see them enter, the candle lights come on. Pretty nice shot sequence. What this project is going to train you to do is to be able to render within the same color space and the same color style and shape language for two different shots. It's dipping our toes in the water. Let me play it one more time. There we go. Really, really beautiful color scheme and layout happening within this. I think it's really nicely done. All right. Project 3, we are going to be jumping even more forward in time, and we're going to be moving into the 1940s and the 1950s. So think Hanna-Barbera, think Looney Tunes, think Bugs Bunny, background art. This is totally during that time period, the Jetsons, the GUI style design. This era really is still when American animation kind of hit the world stage, and is still referenced so often to this day in so many TV shows in so many ways. And you're going to be doing a 6-shot sequence of an interior environment, hopefully a home environment, and having the character wander and walk through that space in a logical shot sequence. Talk plenty more about that later on, but I've seen some really, really cool projects come out of this particular one. Project 4 is where we fast forward in time again and we get into the modern era. So I want you to think for this project, for Project 4, it's like Pixar. The Pixar films have a great way of kind of taking place within a general, time frame that's a little bit before, a little bit after us, and but they tunify it in a really smart and interesting way. And it takes place within the world that we actually exist in now. You guys are going to be taking on an urban environment. Think like the city of San Francisco. And this is where you're going to be creating that parallax effect for a cityscape scene as we start to move through it. Project 5, we've really fast forward for the end, and we are going all the way to space and the far-flung future. You're going to be creating a space station and a spaceship for your final rendering. And you can imagine that the spaceship has just arrived or is about to arrive, and your character is looking at the ship coming in or just exiting the ship. And it gives you the chance to be able to develop some objects. I also think that it's really important to learn the 3 levels of detail that exist within sci-fi design to get you thinking on a deeper level about how it is that you approach your backgrounds, your environments, and those little details as well are always important when you're thinking about this type of world building, and telling this story is going to be present throughout each one of these projects. The grading scale, you're familiar with that. Nothing strange there. Any other important things I need to go over? No. Again, this is online. I recommend that you guys read through this at your own pace, have a look at it. But here is how the class is going to be structured. There is a course schedule down here at the bottom, and you'll notice that within every week, there is a bold deadline due. That deadline every single week for the next 15, 16 weeks is going to be on Friday. Within each one of the projects, of the 5 projects, now that we know what they are, the first week of that project, you're going to have a discussion post 1 due. The second week of that project, discussion post 2 is going to come due. And then the third week of that project, that is going to be your final turn-in for that assignment. There is a gray area here. You get a check-in at the beginning, you get a check-in on the progress, and then there's this sort of dark area before we actually turn in the final projects where there's not another discussion post. I'm going to know, and that how things are going with you. And I'll likely, for that second discussion post, reach out to you and say, hey, I feel like you're on the right track, you're doing great. Or if things are looking a little bit shaky, I'll say, hey, please email me and give me a JPEG of how this is coming together and how you're solving for these things before the final turn-in. And this is just so that I can give you a few more pointers to get it over the line so that I can give you the best grade that I possibly can. I am here to help you guys. Within each one of these discussion posts, 1 and 2, you guys are going to be responding to the other students, 2 other students within the class with at least 50 words. In these responses, I do ask that you be critical. Oftentimes, I understand it's an online class, and sometimes you have to write, hey, wow, that looks great. I really like what you did here. That's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing where you're going with that project. Good job is great, but you need to get comfortable with stepping into the role of an art director and being able to give critical feedback to the other students. A lot of times we are all learning this stuff together. I'm still learning this stuff. I'm still getting better. And art cannot exist in a vacuum by itself. So please step into the role of saying, hey, look, your perspective isn't exactly right here on this building number 2. That window isn't right. That shelf does not work with the rest of the scene. Your couch does not look like it's actually fitting within the perspective that we have here for the interior. Your lighting could probably be a little bit more strong. We want to increase the saturation there. You use those principles of design in the art language, or a critical language, to be able to give people feedback. Be kind, polite, but it is expected. If you guys are just saying, oh, nice, great job, rah, rah, I'm going to deduct points. Here's where we get into sort of the grading for this class as well. So the projects, this is one of those give and take things, right? Because we've got 3 weeks, the grade within this course is not fully dependent on just your final turn-in for the project. The grade is also dependent on meeting those discussion post benchmarks. So the discussion posts are a big part of your final grade. Please do not wait until Friday after midnight, because there will be no extensions offered on these discussion posts. Again, the recommendation for the discussions and turning in your projects is to turn it in on Wednesday evening or Thursday morning during the day. Do not get anywhere close to Friday. Don't even play with the water, because after Friday at midnight, that discussion post, the submission portals are going to close down, and you're not going to be able to submit anything. And I don't want to see you guys, mess up your grade because something like that happens. That said, I've heard every excuse under the board. You have an entire week to be able to find a computer, go to a library, do whatever it is you have to do at McDonald's, a Starbucks. Their Wi-Fi works after midnight. They don't turn it off in those places to be able to turn things in. I've had to transfer files from Starbucks parking lots at various times in my life. It's one of the things that happens, when we're interfacing with technology like this. The closer you get to deadlines, the more Murphy's Law is in full effect, which is whatever can go wrong will go wrong. Okay, so we are at, gosh, I've been talking for about 48 minutes now. I'm going to pause the video and take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to open up project one. I'm going to walk you through how each one of these projects are structured within this course. And then we're going to get into the discussion post. And then I'm going to be opening up Adobe Photoshop and showing you some best practices for how to be able to set up your design portfolio.